Hey everyone, I don't normally do a video this late. I wanted to call the Samaritans and I couldn't get through to them, so I thought I'd just make a video instead. Now, before anybody makes any assumptions, there's nothing suicidal going on or anything. In fact, I'm actually looking forward to moving out in the next few days. Like, every time I think about that, I always feel a little bit better. That's not actually why I'm upset. The reason I'm upset is because, if you can believe it, watching a TV show had me thinking about thinking about my life philosophically. And the thing that I've been thinking about the most is, now, how do I put this? The thing that I've been thinking about the most is living a life that's authentic, that is completely devoid of illusion. And I can't lie and say that's entirely worked for me so far, because quite frankly, the only reason why I have decided to live my life almost entirely truthfully is because I haven't been given the space or the room to create my own world. Now, what do I mean by that? It's understood that this world that we're living in is an illusion in and of itself. So what you do with this illusion that you've been placed into is to create one of your own. Because this society is not to my liking, what I do is I deconstruct everything around me, and I convince myself that I'm doing it so that when I build a world of my own, it's based on truth. But this is what no one tells you. And the act of building in and of itself is artificial. So it doesn't matter whether I know the truth or not. If I decide to create the kind of world that I want to live in, I'm creating an artifice. I'm creating an illusion. And I'm actually starting to wonder if that's actually a bad thing. Have I conflated truthfulness and honesty with a void of nihilism? Have I conflated the two? Like, what's really going on here? What's really going on here? Am I really being honest and really deconstructing everything because I want everything to be honest and open, and I want everything to be just organic? If everything was going to be organic, it would just be a void. There'd be nothing there. There would be no trees, there would be no sun, there would be no air, there would be no water, there would be no life, there would be no nothing. If we didn't have illusion, if we didn't have some form of artifice, then nothing would exist. It would just be a huge fucking void. Can we get as close to nature as possible? Sure. But even nature in itself is an artifice created in the mind of some incredible eternal being that we couldn't possibly comprehend yet. Even the natural world is a fucking hologram if you really want to take it there. Even the natural world is by design, and design has something inherently artificial about it. So why the fuck am I living my life trying to avoid building a world of my own? Who says that I have to be limited to how people treat me in order to build a world that I want to build? Like, who says that I have to be limited to how people treat me? Because that's what I've been limiting myself to. And I've been treating that as fact. I've limited myself to the way the world sees me, to the way the world treats me, to the way the world decides to the way the world tries to take my life and make it about themselves, just like I've been doing to others. Like, Who the fuck says that I can't create my own world or create the world that I want to live in? Who says that I can't do that? And I've been denying this to myself because other people don't want that for me. They don't want me to create a world that makes me happy. They don't want me to create a world that makes me prosperous. They don't want me to create a world that brings, joy and good and kindness. I've literally spent my whole life wishing, wanting, never believing, and watching my younger relatives live the life that I always wanted to live because I was too scared to go after it myself. The older generation always do that with the younger generation. We wish and wait, we hope and pray instead of actually taking a risk on failure, in order to live the lives that we want to live. And as a result, our younger generations end up taking up that slack for us instead of living their own lives. Because we're scared of failure. We're scared to fail. We don't try to strive for our own illusion or to build our own world or to be the gods of our own lives because we're scared to fail. Never realizing that it actually takes failure in order to succeed. And that's what I've been thinking about today. That's why it's so important for me to leave. That's why it's so important for me to be free of bent mind's grasp or bent mind's grasp. Let's call them what they fucking are, bent mind, right? That's why it's so important for me to be free of their grasp and to be free of mental health's grasp and to be free of... It's like, it's not the fact that they're lying that bothers me. It's the fact that their lies and their illusions and it's the fact that their lies and illusions are the kind that gets people killed, that gets people hurt, that traffics people. Because everyone, I'm not going to say that everyone lies, but it's like everyone has an illusory quality to their lives that they live by. I don't like illusions that make people sad. I've never liked it. I don't like illusions that involve abusing people for no good reason. I don't like illusions that involve people projecting their malaise onto one another. I don't like that. I don't like that type of illusion. I don't like the type of illusion that involves sexual abuse and physical abuse and mental abuse. Every single time I've seen something like that, it doesn't matter if it's on TV or in real life, I always tried in my mind to rework it so that all the hurt and all the pain and all the brutality is taken out of it, or at least what I perceive to be injustice is taken out of it. Or like taking all the ugliness out of life is what I've been doing up here. And because I took on the negativity of other people, because I've always been a sensitive person, because I took on the negativity of other people that were projected onto me through their own illusions and their own delusions, which hurt people, because I took that on board, I allowed it to affect how I build my world and how I form my own artifice and how I form my own illusion. I let that affect me to the point where, in order to get to know who I was, I studied astrology, I studied the tarot, I studied all kinds of occult subjects. I wasn't necessarily studying them to gain power, although, truth be told, that's the thing that attracted me as a teenager. But the more that I got into it, the more I realized I was actually just looking for myself. And what I realized is that the more, even though I love the occult and I love astrology and I love tarot and I love all that stuff, I find myself realizing that they don't answer any questions. They just lead to, it's like I find an answer in what I'm studying and then it just leads to another question. Like, it's never ending. And what I'm left feeling is, when do I stop asking questions and just build? When do I just create? When do I stop becoming a critic and start becoming an artist in my own life? When do I start building? When do I start growing? When do I start forming things? Because I'm getting older. I'm getting older. And the older you get, the greater the risks become and the smaller the rewards become. I'm trying not to tell myself that, but this is what I've observed. The older you get, the greater the risks and the smaller the reward. And I feel like now is the time to take a risk on my life, to build the world that I want to build, to be the person I want to be, rather than allowing myself to be dictated by other people's responses to me, to control the company I keep, rather than just saying, you know what, fuck everybody, to kind of decide that I want to be around people that make me happy and that I can make happy, rather than this wheel of misery that I've been surrounded by up until recently. Maybe it's my time to actually have wealth and abundance in my life, regardless of whether or not the handlers want me to have it. It's like I've been allowing the abusers to kind of dictate exactly what I need in my life. I'm tired of doing that. And I'm tired of using their abuse against me as an excuse to wish and want, and then have somebody else live my dreams. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that. And I'm tired of fighting with the world, trying to convince myself that I'm not doing it out of hurt. I'm doing it out of immense hurt, immense pain, immense loss. But I'm tired of doing it. And I'm tired of letting that define me. I want to build my world. And if my world doesn't appeal to everyone, oh well. Okay, cool, fine. You don't like it, kick rocks. I don't want to be the tough woman. I want to be the woman who wears pretty dresses and, and lives in a pretty house and has a pretty partner, has a pretty everything. And, I want to live in a world where everyone's crazy about me as a person, and vice versa. I'm crazy about them too. And everybody's just like the Addams family without the murder. Like, that's... like, that's what I want. I want to build a world in which not only am I happy, but the people around me are happy. I want to build my own illusion. I want to build it for myself. I'm sick and tired of the fucking void. I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of constructing, deconstructing, pulling apart, analyzing, compartmentalizing, fucking, like, I'm tired of it. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. And I know it's necessary for my journey, but I am so sick of it. I'm literally tired of it. It's draining me. I just want to live in a world where, people aren't ugly to each other. but people are kind to each other and people don't do stupid shit for no reason. I want to live in a world where people actually are, are accountable for their actions, that are self-aware enough to look at ourselves and look at one another and say, you know what, we're truthful with one another, but we have love here. I want to live in a world where there's a line, we don't cross it. That's the kind of world that I want to live in. This constant battleground that I'm seeing, this constant battleground that I'm experiencing, in which people are getting killed left and right and people are just not accountable for the role that they play in it. That's not the kind of world I want to live in. That's not the kind of world I want to be in. And yeah, I can sit here and act like, you know, there are other people in this world who have more choices and options than me, but they don't. They don't. They don't. It just seems easier. But I want to live. I want to live my life. I want to live my life and create the world that I want to create. And we all build our own worlds, whether we know it or not. Everybody builds their own worlds. People that I like, people that I hate, we all build our own worlds. And let's be real about the situation. The perps that I'm surrounded with, the handlers knew what they were doing, okay? They studied my psychology, they studied my family psychology, and they deliberately put us in the path of people that reflected the negative part of the parts of who we are. They reflected that, like with TIs, they reflected the negative parts of who we are. You know how I know that? Because who we are is what we know. They put people in our path who reflect the negative parts of who we are and the negative parts of what we know about life. They surrounded us with these people to torture us. You have to remember, these handlers are not very imaginative people. They always think defensively. The only thing that they know is how to think defensively. They're not imaginative. The only thing they know is how to hurt others. That's it. They're not imaginative people. So if they surround us with certain types of people, then what does that say about them? What does it say about me that I'm surrounded by people who break into my house and contaminate my foods and drinks? What does it say about me? What does it say about me that I'm surrounded by people who sexually abuse me? What does that say about my mind process and what's going on up here? What does that say about me? That these are the types of people that are surrounding me. That those types of things are the things that are focused on with regards to torturing me. What does that say about me and the world that I have built? And I'm going to be honest. The good things that I have in my life, I built that too. It's not just the bad stuff. I built that too. Like, all the good stuff that I have in my life, my voice, my intelligence, people keep calling me intelligent. Yeah, I mean, I know, sir. I like my voice, my intelligence, the stuff that I know. Like, my self-awareness and what have you. All the good things in my life, I built that too. So I have to think about what that says about me. And what am I trying to build? What life am I trying to build? What illusion, what artifice am I trying to create? Because, these handlers use your psychological profile to torture you. There's a reason why these people leaned on on sexually abusing me. There's a reason why these people leaned on noise pollution. There's a reason why these people leaned on psychological harassment. Is because the negative in my mind, first of all, there's a lot of sexual repression up here. Second of all, The loud noises thing takes me back to my childhood, when noise pollution was used against me all the time as a kid in order to try and make me fall in line, and violence was used as well, not violence, but the threat of violence. I always found that any violence was used against me was actually less traumatizing than the threat of it. So that was used against me as well. The threat of violence, not actual violence. Actual violence I can handle. That's fine. Being humiliated, they lean on that a lot. My sexuality, they like to lean on a lot as well, because that's very important to me. Ever since I've been sexually abused as young as what? I have to think, because the first time I was sexually assaulted was about 5 or 6 years old. That's my earliest memory of being sexually assaulted, 5 or 6 years old. The boy was 13 at the time. So, and in order to kind of, try to escape from that, it's like I leaned into it. I have this habit where if something kind of fucked me up or traumatized me, or I didn't want something to happen, my way is to lean into it and to kind of go into the devil's eye, as it were. That look the devil in the face. When I was being promiscuous as a younger person, that was me looking the devil in the face. I didn't actually like sex. That was me looking the devil in the face. I didn't like sex because I had a lot of shame attached to it up here, like from a very young age. And I believe that shame was down to the abuse that I suffered, for a while. So I had a habit of looking the devil in the face directly. So from that, the gang stalkers built a world for me where they hoped that if they sexually abused me repeatedly, that I would look the devil in the eye rather than do what other TIs do and wrap themselves up in like 1,500 different layers and just and lie in bed like that. But I don't do that now. I don't look the devil in the face anymore. I don't want to see the devil's face. So when they sexually abuse me, I tend not to respond now in any way. I tend to only respond to things that are inherently in my own mind that I put there. So it's different. But they use that to build my world for me. And it's not just the sexual abuse, it's, what I find surprising is that the physical abuse doesn't actually bother me that much. And it's not because I haven't been through it. A lot of people say, oh, you haven't been beaten enough and that's why you feel like being beaten's not good enough. I'm like, no, motherfucker, I've been beaten. I just don't have Stockholm syndrome. Sorry. I just don't have Stockholm syndrome. I just don't, I just have sense. I have common sense. I don't have Stockholm syndrome like that. I mean, I have Stockholm syndrome in certain ways, but just not in others, and certainly not like that. Because the beatings didn't traumatize me that much. It just didn't traumatize me. Because first of all, they happen so rarely. And second of all, the threat of violence was always more than, do you know what I mean? But from all my psychological processes, both good and bad, the handlers form a world that they build around me. Now, I can't blame myself for I can't blame myself for what they've done to me. I can't blame them. I can't blame myself for what they've done to me. I can only take responsibility for how I responded to it. But if I know anything about the handlers, is that they probably would have found a way to torture me anyway. And I feel like by me leaning into what they're doing to me, it kind of takes away their control. And it does take away their control, because once you demonstrate that you're not afraid of what they're trying to do to you, it removes their control. And it doesn't matter if they know that's what you're doing. It doesn't make any difference, because once you know that they're afraid of losing control and they will do anything to gain it, once you have that Achilles heel and you know exactly what buttons to press, and you remove, the fear that they have over you, and you remove the information asymmetry, you remove their informational advantage. Once you remove that, they don't have the hold over you anymore. But then my entire life has been about balancing out that informational asymmetry. And it's always been about flying in the face of the devil, to the point where I'm thinking to myself, is this what I even want? Or am I just doing this out of fear? Or am I just doing this as a defense mechanism? Because whilst I am getting what I want, I'm not entirely sure that this is the way that I want it, honestly. Which just, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you say. It's just one question after another. You solve what you answer one question, and then it just leads to another question. This is exactly the type of shit I'm talking about. And this is what paralyzes me from creating my own world. It's not just the abuse. It's too easy to say that it's just the abuse that's causing this, but it's because it's not. It's not the abuse. It's not solely that, even though that plays a big part in it. Who do I want to be, and what does that say about me? Is ultimately, because who I am is what I know. That's who I am. Who I am is not what I do. Who I am is what I know. That's who I am. So who am I? What I do is the world that I want to create. Sorry, there was a certain people on here that I've ignored as I was doing this video, because honestly I wasn't trying to answer any comments today. I will get back to them direct message. But yeah, I'm sick and tired of just being reactive to my environment, even though I've been a lot better. I have been a lot better. I want to actually build a world of my own rather than responding to the world that these fuckers gave me. I'm tired of it, man. And I'm tired of living in this constant void of deconstructing everything, because when you deconstruct everything, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. And then you have to kind of replace it with your own world. But it's something that you have to be so careful about, because words hold power. So whatever I deconstruct, if I deconstruct everything around me in order to be in this void, and the only question remains is, what the fuck am I going to fill it with? What am I going to fill it with? And that's what's making me cry. That's what's making me fucking vulnerable today. Take everything down. What am I going to fill it with? I feel like that's deep down, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a way to start completely from scratch, have a complete void. Every single time I have dissatisfaction in my life, it's like there's an instinct within me to just burn everything the fuck down, start over, and then build my own world on top of it. And it seems like that's what I'm always trying to do. So the only question that I'm left with now as a targeted individual is, what kind of world do I want to build? And quite frankly, not even as a TI, as a human being. What kind of world do I want to build? What kind of world do I want to create? And who do I want in it? Because, you know, somewhere along the line, I thought just because I'm a TI, I have to choose between being completely alone or being around people who are lying to me. And I just feel like that's a false dichotomy now. Who says that I have to have that?